Audie and I will be um, your presenters today. And so we'll be going over the exploration classes. So these are the classes that are the high school club exploration and the world language exploration classes. So here's our table of contents for today. So first we'll be going over what these classes are and going over the overview of them and the concept behind them. Then we'll be talking about the high school clubs first, and then the languages, and then finally we'll have a Q&A session. So first, what are these classes? So these classes, we designed them with two purposes in mind. So first, we want to encourage an interest in new topics. So these are a wide variety of clubs and languages that students are able to get a taste of. So in getting a taste of these clubs and languages, we hope that students will be able to get an interest in these different things. And also we hope to foster a desire to learn, because these are just simple tastes of these clubs and languages. This won't be going into great detail on these languages and clubs. So to continue to learn more about these clubs and languages, students will have to seek it out themselves. And we hope that this will foster within each student a desire to learn and seek out information for themselves. So first, high school clubs. So over the course of the 7 weeks, we'll be covering these high school clubs. Speech and debate will be split into 2 weeks. They'll have its academic, HOSA, Model UN, Science Olympiad, and a mentoring program. So the instructors will be me, Kathy Mendu, Jessie Zong, Kelly Tai, and Priscilla Ye. To give you an introduction of these instructors, so I was a co-captain of the Howard High debate team. I was a state qualifier, and I had medaled in the September of 2019. Kathy Mendu, let's see, Audie, is she the current co-captain of speech? Yes, okay, so she's a current co-captain of speech at Howard High. She's medaled several times at, I believe it was, what was her event?
Impromptu. And
Impromptu.
extemporaneous.
Yes, so 2 events in the speech competitions. Yeah, and then for Model UN, she's pretty heavily involved in the Howard High Model UN Club. Jessie Zong is, he's had 4 years of being involved in his academic, and he's competed on the regional, state, and national level. And he was also a quarterfinalist in his division. Kelly Tai is the president of the Howard High HOSA Club. So she's well versed in all the HOSA events. She's also part of Lion Leaders. Yeah, Lion Leaders at Howard High. So this is the mentoring program.
And Howard Mentors, that's the main mentoring program.
Yes. And she's also, and Priscilla Ye is on the Reservoir Science Olympiad team. She's well versed in many events. Her team won 3rd at regionals and competed at states, and she herself was 5th in the Dynamic Planet event. So the general outline for these classes, so these classes are twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the first day on Tuesday, students will be given an overview of the club. They'll be given an explanation of the different aspects of the club. So all of these clubs that we will be talking about are super complex and they have many parts to them. That's why this is an important part. And then we'll also be doing simple exercises related to the club. And day 2 on Thursday, we'll be doing a review of information that's covered on day 1. We'll be doing more complex issues, and we'll also be giving advice on how to do well in the club. And now onto languages. So we'll be covering these languages. in the 7 weeks that we are running classes. So these classes run all days of the week. Yeah, so this is where the languages are. Just so you know, Tagalog is spoken in the Philippines. And I'm sure you can match up the rest of these languages with the countries that are being highlighted. So to meet the instructor, so Audio will be teaching French, Hindi, Japanese, and Korean. Theo Gifford will be teaching Tagalog and German, and I'll be teaching Chinese. So Audio, do you want to talk about your history with the languages?
Yeah, sure. So in 7th grade, I started learning French as my third language in school, and I've continued to learn it. I finished the AP course last year, which got me my seal of biliteracy from the state of Maryland. And this year, I was a peer assistant for the French 1 classes that Howard High offers, and I work to help teach and assist students in learning French 1. And I've also been the president of the French Honor Society at Howard this past year, working to tutor lower level students and coordinate events to foster appreciation of the French language in our community. I'm a native Hindi speaker. It's the first language I spoke growing up. I've been to school in India, which has helped me improve my Hindi ability, and that's a language I speak primarily at home. In terms of Japanese, that's a language I've self-taught myself due to an interest in global affairs. Along with most of the other languages I self-taught myself. I've used my Japanese when I've traveled to Japan with my dad and some of his colleagues, acting as the primary translator for all of them. And then in terms of Korean, that's another language that I've taught myself. I haven't had the opportunity to go to Korea itself, but I do talk to my Korean friends in Korean, and I use it as a way to connect with the global community.
Okay, Theo Gifford, I believe his mom is Filipina, so he learned Tagalog from his mom's side of the family. He traveled to the Philippines recently and practices Tagalog with his grandparents. And for German, Theo was top 1% or 2%?
1% of the
1%.
entire country.
Yes. And he studied in Germany last year in the summer through a program because of how well he tested on a German language exam. And well, as you can see, I am Chinese, so speak Chinese at home. I got a 5 on the Chinese AP exam. So that's generally my history with Chinese. Okay, so here's a general outline. So over the course of the 5 days, instructors will be covering history, culture, and basic vocabulary of the different languages and the countries behind them. So for history, we'll be going over important events and modern day issues in the countries. For culture, we'll be going over food, dress, sports, and arts. And for basic vocabulary, it's things like questions you ask when you travel to the country, and also everyday vocabulary and phrases such as introductions, general asking for directions, so on and so forth. Yeah. So the schedule is, if you scan this QR code, you'll be taken to the schedule for the classes. But it is in the order that we've listed them on the PowerPoints. Okay, thank you very much. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram with this username. Here's our email if you have questions, and here's our website.